What are you doing, you big old pup? I don't know. Come here. You want to go out? Go on. Go on.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another book video with your two favorite book nerds, Amy
and Kelly.
Today we are doing our November reading wrap-ups. I don't know why I said it like that.
Such excitement. You're really selling this one.
Yeah, I have a feeling this might be one of our shortest wrap-ups yet.
Probably. We did not read very much.
No, I don't know what it was about November, but that month flew by. Like, it went by fast, but also really slow, and there was not a lot of time for reading for me.
I don't think, I think I had time. I think I had Riley Sager fatigue.
That could be. That could be.
Because it seemed like the last time that I had a really high volume month, the next month was almost nothing.
Yeah.
So, but there was time. I mean, there's the holiday. And I really thought that I'd have a lot of reading time over the holiday, and I didn't. So, and like the last week of November was just stupid nuts.
Yeah.
So, oh well, it is what it is.
Yeah, it happens, you know.
It does.
Can't all have major months.
We did read some.
We did.
So and there you go.
There
it is.
Can't tell I'm from Kansas. There it is.
Alrighty.
Alright, well, let's just get into this.
Let's do.
Get it over with. I think you started last time, so I'm gonna start first.
Okay.
I only read 3 books in November. I read The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones, which was our book club book for October.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I finished it in November.
Yes. Me too.
Yep. I read The Troop by Nick Cutter, and then I also read Pumpkin Spice Cafe by
Lori
Gilmore. Yep. I knew her last name was Gilmore, but I couldn't. Anyway, so yeah, those 3 books. I ended the month with 1 4-star and 2 3-stars for an average of 3.3 stars. My 4-star, I was really happy about that one. It was almost a 5-star, and I'll talk about that later. It was just so close to a 5-star, but
there you go.
Yeah, I was excited for it.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I also read Only the Good Indian, or The Only Good Indian. Also finished it after the fact. I read The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. I read The Shepherd Who Didn't Run by Maria Ruiz Scaparlanda. And I also read The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. And I read The Innocent Sleep by Shannon McGuire. So I had 3 3-stars, 2 4-stars, for an average of 3.4 stars. So not much better.
Yeah. Hey, it's better than my October month, which was, what did that, was that even like a 2, was my average of 2.6 in October, so we're getting,
I think my October was only like 3.
Yeah.
It wasn't that great
pretty
either.
Low.
This wasn't a whole lot better.
Riley Sager did a sturdy.
He did.
Amy did a sturdy.
Yeah,
Riley Sager,
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so pages. With my 3 books, I had a total of 927 pages for an average book length of 309. My longest book was The Troop at 350 something. I think 354 pages. And my shortest book was Pumpkin Spice Cafe at 267.
Okay. I read a total of 1,536 pages. My average was 307.
Wow, we're like evening out.
Pretty, we are. So my shortest book was The Shepherd Who Didn't Run, or Wouldn't Run, The Shepherd Who Didn't Run was my shortest, and my longest was The 13th Tale. This one was 406, and the shortest one was 244.
Nice.
Yeah.
Alright, well, authors. For November, all of the authors I read from were new to me, and all except for Lori Gilmore I will be reading from again.
we have the same opinion. We do. So the only one I had repeated was Shannon McGuire. It's getting more difficult to say that I'll keep reading from her, but
Oh no.
I'll get to that in a little bit, but I will. The others are all new to me. I probably won't read this author again because this was like a single book. I'll get to that too. And Stephen Graham Jones I definitely will read again. Diane Setterfield, I'm not sure. I have another one of her books. So, that I bought and paid for.
So you better at least try to read
So I'm
it.
gonna at least try.
Mm-hmm.
So,
There's
There you go.
nothing wrong with DNFing books.
there
You've
is
at least
not.
tried.
That's right.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, and then rounding out our monthly stats, genres. So I had 2 in the horror fiction category and 1 in romance.
Okay.
It's short and sweet.
Yeah, well, mine were all different.
Wow.
So I had a horror, I had gothic fiction, I had 1 nonfiction, 1 fantasy, and 1 romance.
Dang.
Yeah,
All right.
all different.
Just running the gambit of different
Yeah,
genres there.
yeah, I did.
All right. Sweet.
Okay, should we talk about the books?
Let's talk about the books.
Baby.
So, yeah! Finally! Kelly coming in with the song!
She's been waiting for that for years.
I have been, okay? It's always been on me. Always been on me. And now, it's like a little weight has lifted off my shoulders.
Had to be of service.
Thank you. Okay, so the Only Good Indians, not gonna talk about because we have an entire live streamed video where we discuss this book in depth, so go check that out
Yes.
and listen to our opinions on that book, which we actually both liked. So we'll
Yeah,
say that.
I
We
was
both
gonna
did
say,
like that
yeah.
book. It's not a rant.
At least say so somebody doesn't want to go watch an hour and a half video.
Yeah.
We
yeah.
both liked it very
We
much.
both liked it
it's
very
a
much.
horror book about Native American, something that's haunting a group of Native American men, and it's also written by a Native American, so kind of an own voices, and it's really very good.
It's good. Like,
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
horror done well.
Oh,
For sure. There are scenes
Most
in there
definitely.
that will freak you out.
yeah, it scared me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, go check out our video on that, and also check out the book if you haven't already. The next book I read in November was The Troop by Nick Cutter. This was my first time with Nick Cutter, and it definitely will not be my last. This was my almost 5-star book. I loved it so much. So
She doesn't do 5 stars very often.
No, I
something
don't.
was
And this-
almost there.
yeah, this was so good. So this is about a group of boys, a troop of Boy Scouts who are out on an island. Every year, their scout leader takes them out to an island off the coast from where they live, and they do their like wilderness badges stuff, like camping, all of that, like try and knock it all out on this weekend trip out to the island. And while they are there, this stranger shows up on the island, and he does not look right. He's very clearly very, very sick. Their scout leader is a doctor, so he kind of, that doctor instinct kicks in, and he's like, okay, how can I help this man? While also keeping the boys safe, because whatever this man has, like, he looks like he has a really, like, the end stages of cancer, but it's like the doctor knows it's not cancer, so it's just like, what is happening here? So he quarantines the boys and tries to figure out what is wrong with the stranger, and things just get wild from there. If you have problems with body horror, if you can't handle body horror, don't read this book. Because I thought that I could handle it. I love, like, the Saw movies, all of that. None of that bothers me. That has never bothered me once. I had to put this book down.
Ooh.
Like, there were parts where I was reading it, and I literally had to set it down, and I did not come back to it for, like, at least a day. Because it was so wild. It just, like, it's one of those books that it's going to, like, it's gonna get into your mind, and you're gonna start thinking, because like it's told from a point of view of all of these boys on the island. Like they all have their own little voices at times for how they're handling the situation that they've been thrust into, and it's, you start to think like, well, how would I react in this situation? And then it's just like, oh my gosh, like what if I'm next? Like what would I do if I was exposed to this as well? And it's just, it's wild. And the thing that they are exposed to, it's not something that is easily stopped. And so it's like it could happen, and it's just, it messes with your mind and it makes you do crazy things. And yeah, also big trigger warning for animal harm and cruelty, because those were parts in there that also made me have to kind of stop and put the book down, because they were so intense, so bad. So yeah, it was rough. But yeah, it was so good. The only reason that I didn't give it a 5-star was just because of the body horror. I want stuff like that in my books, but I don't need that much that it's going to make me not read the book. You know, like I want to be able to keep reading it. Don't read this book if you're eating. That's another thing. Definitely don't read it while eating, because that's when I get a lot of my reading done, is at work over the lunch break. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Yeah. Oh, I also didn't like one of the boys in this book. His storyline that was in it wasn't. It just didn't feel like it fit to me personally. Shelley, I didn't think his character storyline really fit into it. I think separately it would have been fine, but it just seemed out of place, so I didn't like that either. I do have to shout out though that there was a little bit in here that it just made me really giddy, and also really made me worry even more while reading this book, is that I did my college research with these little tiny worms called C. elegans, and in this book they talk about C. elegans and how they were instrumental in what these boys were dealing with. And so I'm sitting there thinking, like, I literally worked with these worms, and now they're talking about how these worms are like contributing to what they're dealing with now, and I'm like, oh, I've been exposed.
I would say, was the science right?
Well, they didn't like talk too much. They just like mentioned like they were doing testing with C. elegans and they were doing this, and I'm like, that's what I was doing too.
I did that too.
Like,
I did that too.
I'm next. That's what I was thinking. Then I just started to get like all itchy. I'm like, things are crawling on me. And then no. So yeah, it's so good. It's so good. I loved it. Yes. I wasn't even done reading it. I'm like, I think this might be a 5-star book. And yeah, aside from the things I mentioned, it would have been 5 stars. It's amazing. I love it. Horror well done.
It also maybe sounds like if you have any sort of anxiety, residual anxiety, or even PTSD from pandemic stuff, that maybe you want to stay away from this.
Stay away from this one for sure. Also, if you are someone who just doesn't, there are people who are very like anti-germs. Germaphobes, that's what they're called. Thank you. Germaphobes or anti-sickness, all of that. Don't read this book. Don't do that to yourself. You're not going to be able to make it through like the first 10 pages. So, yeah. But, so good.
But it is horror, so people, if you like horror, bear that in mind. You're not going to get a good horror.
Yeah.
A happy horror.
Yeah, those don't typically exist.
Yeah,
but
you're probably not going to get that.
I mean, there are certain things in horror novels that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so good. I can't wait to read more from Nick Cutter, for sure. I just love that book so much. Okay, Pumpkin Spice Cafe. We both read it.
We did.
It is about this tiny town. Couldn't even tell you where. Somewhere on the East Coast.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
I don't remember. And the main character, Logan, is kind of like...
Grumpy farmer.
Yep, grumpy farmer.
What was her name?
Jeannie.
Jeannie.
She's a big city girl.
Yeah.
So think like so if you're a Gilmore Girls fan.
No, see, I don't agree with that.
There was supposed to be.
Yeah.
A lot of connections to Gilmore Girls, a
The
lot
whole-
of similarities.
This is Gilmore Girls in a book.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Like,
But definitely, though, the whole Hallmark movie trope, big city girl moves to small town, falls in love.
with the farmer. Like, yeah.
It's definitely that.
100%. Like, this is a Hallmark
Yeah.
Christmas movie. Okay, so, like, how'd you
And-
girls, how'd you, whatever. Like, you know,
Yeah, the whole, and Grumpy Sunshine.
Yeah.
So she's the sunshine, supposedly, and he's supposedly the grumpy farmer.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
So, there's that. It's supposed to be, like, warm, cozy fall vibes and the romance thrown in there and just have that little Gilmore Girls odd town feel. I didn't get any of that from this book. I ended up giving it 3 stars. It was just okay.
Yeah.
I didn't hate reading it, but I mean, I'm not gonna read anything else from her again.
Oh, there's more in, this is a series.
I
And
did
I'm
see
not
that.
gonna-
I definitely am.
Oh,
not
you can see
continuing
the
that.
setup in the book, too. You can see the setup immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm the same. I do think I got fall vibes.
Okay, there were some fall vibes
I
because they
got-
had like the farmers market. They had the pumpkin spice cafe.
Yeah, and the whole, like, fall festival.
Mm-hmm.
So there were some vibes.
Yes.
But to me, what makes Gilmore Girls work isn't that it's set in a small New England town.
It's the quirkiness.
And it isn't even.
the quick
It
wittedness
isn't.
of
Yes,
Lorelai.
I was gonna say it's not even just quirky. It's the fact of how those quirkies interact with each other,
Right.
and yeah, the wittiness, the mother-daughter the relationships.
Yeah. Like,
And I can't even say this book, I think, took a stab at quirky small town, but I can't really say that any of the characters were like Kirk level
oh no.
quirky.
Or
you know?
or even Taylor level.
No!
Like, you know, like the mayor was supposed
They
to be.
tried. They tried.
Yeah, she
They
tried.
did.
And I understand, like, she probably didn't want to come out and just remake Gilmore Girls.
Oh, I
You-
think she did. Did you read the author's note?
Well,
I think she did.
I know that she had intentionally set out to make it Gilmore Girls-esque because her last name is Gilmore and she wanted to make that happen. Because obviously, Logan is supposed to be Luke.
Yep.
Jeannie's supposed to be Lorelai.
Yep.
The book club is Patty and Babette.
Babette.
Like, it's also the mayor's Taylor. Like, it's all
Yeah.
it's all there. It's just not there.
But it's more than just.
Just having the characters. You need to have the
Yes.
character traits that make it.
Well, and just the humor, the intelligent humor that is Gilmore Girls. It's
Yeah.
not there. It's not. To me, I agree. It was meh. It was your standard run of the mill Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
And and see, coming from me who likes to binge Hallmark movies at Christmas time, I don't know why I'm saying this, but in a book is boring.
It was.
It was just boring.
It was boring. The reason for the big blow up that happens in every romance movie was dumb.
Oh, and
Like,
you
it could
know,
have been an easy conversation.
if you don't like the misunderstanding trope, don't read this book because it's all over the frickin' place.
Yeah.
And I did not buy into Logan being grumpy.
No, I didn't
He
either.
was not grumpy.
He was not. He was a little traumatized,
Yeah, but he was
but
not.
not grumpy.
He was not grumpy. I never
He
got
was
that.
not Luke level.
And it was just very much insta love from the get go, which I always hate too. I did not like this book very much. I did give it a 3 just for the fact that the story made sense.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, it's a romance. And it delivered
Yeah.
on the romance.
It did.
It did. But I think also the events on the end were out of order.
Yeah, I do agree with that as well.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There was like 3 different things at the end that if she had flipped a couple of them,
It would have made
it would have been much better. It still would have been meh, but it would have been a better flow at the end because it was just really weird.
Yeah.
Like, you thought the book should end and then it kept going.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was...
And then it ended a second time.
And then it ended the second time. And the reason that we kept going was just dumb. It really was.
Yeah.
And had no point to it, really. Anyway,
So.
yeah, that was the reason that I do not agree that this is Gilmore Girls in a book.
No.
It's not.
It's not.
It's not. But if you are wanting something just kind of mindless to give you some fall vibes and don't really care about a story, sure, give it a whirl.
Yeah.
If you just are like massively into romance and you just read anything that you can get your hands on, it's not a bad romance. It's just very typical.
Yeah.
Very typical.
Predictable, for sure.
Very predictable. And not just because a romance always has a happily ever after.
No, it's like this is just every Hallmark movie goes in the same
yeah,
pattern.
it's just the same thing.
It's the same.
And yeah, anyways, very meh. And I'm not spending more time on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the other book that I read for fall vibes, which apparently by looking at fall vibe lists of books, Gothic is apparently a big fall read. So I picked The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield, which is sort of like the same premise as Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Sort of. So there's this reclusive writer. Well, she's not really reclusive, so to speak, but she's typically known for lying. So if she's interviewed and anybody asks about her past or anything else, she just makes up a story and tells them. And she changes it, and she doesn't even try to pretend it's real. She changes it every time so that everybody knows it's made up. So there's always these reporters who are trying to dig up her past and then like gotcha in these interviews, and she catches them every time. And anyway, she is now 80 years old. She's in poor health, and she is ready to tell her story. So she contacts what's her name? The writer's name is Vida Winter, and she contacts Margaret Lee. Margaret she runs a bookstore with her dad, and her passion is to research like late 1800s, early 1900s, I think. I don't know. I'll get to that. Anyway, dead people. She likes to research old stories and write biographies. That's kind of like her pastime, but she's not like a known writer or a biographer or anything like that. But she had written this book about this one set of twins, or a paper. I think it was just a paper that she published in some kind of psychological magazine or something, I think it was. Anyway, Vida Winter saw it, and she contacted Margaret and made this offer that she would tell her the truth if she would come and stay and be her biographer. So that's the story. And so, of course, as per like Seven Husbands, about half of the book is Vida Winter's backstory, like her telling the story of her childhood and such. And the other half of the book is Margaret and Margaret's kind of story. Unlike Seven Husbands, Margaret doesn't have like a big problem, mystery type thing to figure out. Margaret's part of this is basically trying to go around and verify what Vida Winter has told her.
Oh.
So in that sense, it was pretty good. I still gave this a book a 3, though. It is Gothic, no doubt. It is this Vida Winter's backstory. Vida Winter is not her real name, by the way. And she's always kept her real name very hush-hush secret. She legally changed her name so that anybody looking into it would only ever find Vida Winter. So anyway, it does involve a great big crumbling house. It does involve a very strange, twisted family situation. It does involve, the Yorkshire moors. All of those creepy Gothic vibes are definitely there. Her childhood story is very twisted. So yeah, that is all there, and it is good. And Margaret's part of it is good as well. The reason I didn't care for it a whole lot was, or it was meh, is because I never got a true sense of time in this book. I don't know when this book was set. Don't got a clue. There is no cell phones, and there's no internet. And given the language that it was written in, it's a very formal sounding language. I got the impression that it was more like set in the 50s, ish, maybe 40s, because Margaret's voice is very formal, like a very well-educated, bookish woman.
Mm-hmm.
But then it starts to talking about Vida telling her story, but yet there are things about that, which she's 80, so if it was set in the 50s, we have to be talking like 1860, 1870,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not right. There's things in there that don't match up, but yet if you make Vida's story turn of the century, or even like 1920s, which it sometimes felt like, that would put this in the 2000s, which why is there no internet?
Yeah.
Margaret would definitely have searched the internet looking for things. And it talks about Margaret always writing letters to different people to verify. Well, she would have just called and used her cell phone. Anyway, I could never get a good sense of time. It felt like both timelines were happening in the same time period, which of course is not possible.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the things that I just could not figure it out. Just couldn't. Anything else? Oh, I take that back. Margaret did have a sideline story herself, now that I remember. She did, which was weird to me. So one of the ways that Vida Winter, because Margaret was not going to take the job, because basically she walked in and she could tell that Vida was giving her a story right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was going to take the job, she was just leaving. And one of the things that got her was Vida said, this is a story about twins. And we've already learned about Margaret that she was a twin, but her twin died shortly after they were born. But Margaret was never told this. But when she was younger, she had been looking for something and found a box that came across with 2 birth certificates and a death certificate.
Oh, dang.
So a very strong sense, this is another like book about hauntings. Vida obviously being haunted by her past. Margaret is haunted by her sister. And the
Which
thing
is interesting since she never met her sister.
met her. So a lot of this book, you really have to buy into the whole twin thing where they're connected, you know, like more than like
Normal people.
like psychically connected. If that's, but yet that was never really brought up very much, so it was kind of a hard sell. You had to come up with that on your own, I guess is what I'm saying. And so the whole thing about Margaret going on and on about her sister, which there are some really pretty passages where she talks about her sister, but it's a hard sell because you're kind of thinking like, you never knew.
Right.
You never ever knew her. It took, years before you even found out that it happened. But there's also, it had also an effect because her mother, after she lost one of the babies, was just never the same, had a very distant, cold relationship with Margaret. And so there's she had a good relationship with her dad, and, that was kind of one-sided. He tried to be a bridge between them, and so there's some family kind of things like that, which is good. There is something that you find out later on in the book about the twins, Margaret twins, that gives it a little more light, but yet there's hints of it early on, but I didn't catch on to it until it was outright said later on, and then I got it. But anyway, I'm going on and on. Vida's part of the story also involves twins. So that's what hooks Margaret back in. And anyway, it's pretty good. She goes out to the house that Vida says she grew up in, and sees this crumbling ruin of a place, and meets this guy there called Aurelius, and he has a story to tell. And so she gets these stories from other people and kind of starts piecing things together. And so kind of in that way with Seven Husbands, when Monica?
Yeah.
When she comes back and starts to challenge Evelyn, that kind of happens here too, but in a more intellectual kind of way.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, I did like it, but those things were just kind of meh to me. And like I said, the time, this really bothered me that I could not set the time.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the language was very formal, which in a 400 and some page book kind of got
a little bit much
sometimes. But anyway, it's okay. It is very gothic, no doubt. Okay. Again, also The Only Good Indians, you can go read that. The Shepherd Who Didn't Run. This is a biography about Blessed Stanley Rother, who was a Catholic missionary in Guatemala most of the 70s until his death in 1981, when he was murdered by the Guatemalan government, basically, during the Civil War in Guatemala. I'm not going to get into all the political stuff. You can look that up. Basically, there was revolutionaries rebelling against the treatment of the government, who was pretty much really oppressing people. And so there was a group that rose up, and anyway, the government just reacted overwhelmingly with force during this time. But Blessed Stanley Rother was from Oklahoma. He was a priest in the Catholic Church, and Oklahoma became very much involved with missionary work in Guatemala, especially this one area of Guatemala where there was actually a 400-year-old Catholic church that was still in use. And I can't remember all the names, and I'd butcher them now if I tried to do it from memory. But anyway, that is where Stanley Rother was sent to serve as a priest there for the people, and also to try and do things like he built a school while he was there. He built a hospital, or I shouldn't, well, truthfully, he did do the building. I mean, he really did get in there with his hands and built stuff. So it's his biography about how he became a priest and growing up, and he was not a very good student and almost didn't make it through seminary because he kept flunking out of some of his classes. Especially what's funny is like Latin. He had to have serious help to get through Latin, and almost was not accepted to seminary because he couldn't even pass the pre-seminary courses. But yet he gets to Guatemala, and this area is populated by a descendant Mayan line. And again, the name will escape me. I'm not going to butcher it. But they have their own language, which he learned like that. Spoke it like a native.
Wild.
But I think talking about how much he loved these people and he loved this culture, and he literally lived their lives with them and served them as best he could. So when the Civil War broke out and the government was starting to like occupy, I mean, they talk about how people would hide or take sanctuary at the church because the government would come and through the town, and they like walk through the town, and they would just like grab any young men and force them into the army to fight. So they would come and hide at the church, and he'd give them sanctuary. They would come in and basically kidnap people and they'd accuse them of being revolutionaries, and they would just take them away, and they'd never see them again. And so part of what Stanley Rother did was he would go out on like patrols looking for bodies so that he could recover them. But even when he did and bring them back, like their wives or families were afraid to claim them because they were labeled as revolutionaries, that would taint the whole family, and then the government would come after the whole family. So a lot of times he had to help the families in secret to retrieve the remains of their loved ones. It was just a really bad, scary time. Anyway, the government basically kicked them out. It became too dangerous for them to stay, and he went back to Oklahoma for about a month, I think, maybe longer, and ultimately decided to go back because he did not want to leave his people without support and help, because he was really instrumental in getting funds and food and things for widows that were these guys that were kidnapped and essentially tortured and killed. So he went back, and it was ramping up, and anyway, ultimately, people came to his house and in the middle of the night and shot him in the head, murdered him. So within the Catholic Church, he is considered a martyr, which is why he's called Blessed Stanley Rother and being considered for sainthood. But I think even if you aren't particularly religious or Catholic, I think you could still find this very interesting just for its historical context and what was going on in Guatemala during that time. And also the culture of the people that he was serving is really interesting too. So there's that. So my last book was The Innocent Sleep by Shannon McGuire. Pretty much this book is the same as the previous book, but it's told from a different viewpoint, which I thought would be good. It's not. It could have been better. It could have been. The viewpoint of this character, he was not in the other book very much, which was unusual because usually he's a pretty main character. And in the main cast of characters, he's like probably the second one to Toby, who is the big one. So, and he just wasn't in that book very much. And some of the things he did was really weird. Kind of. So I thought, well, this will be good because obviously he was out there, doing stuff. And in the last book, Toby, the main character, just didn't do all that. It was a boring book, honestly. So I thought this will be good because maybe he had a much more active, thing going on. Yeah, no, not really. No. Mm-mm. I thought that maybe. So, in these two books, pretty much, I think what I said last month in the wrap-up was there's like this, it's like a parallel world kind of thing, where Toby had gotten put into like this parallel world. It really isn't that, but it's the best way I can describe it without spoiling anything. And so people from her past keep coming back that remember the way the world's supposed to be, or the real world, and trying to get things back to the way they should be. So she has no memory of any of this. And so the usual straightforward quest thing, like she knows what needs to be done and we're going to go get there, it just wasn't there. She's just meandering around a lot, right? So I thought, okay, this is Tybalt. Tybalt knows what's going on. He never got his memory warped into this parallel world. He knows what's going on, and he's going to be maybe behind the scenes. Why he wasn't there in the other book was because he was behind the scenes, making sure it was all set up so that when Toby comes in and does the hero thing and saves the day. No. That wasn't it at all. Any of you who read this, I'm not going to spoil it, but any of you who know what Toby and Tybalt's relationship is, their status, how they deal with one another in the main series, I just can't. I can't describe it without spoiling it. But he didn't do anything. He just like ran around moping about the world not being the way it ought to be. Pretty much. One of the things that was kind of cool is that Tybalt, in this world, there are different courts. He is a Kate-She, which is fairy cats. So he's a shapeshifter. So he shifts into a cat. Aww. Okay, so basically the court of cats is outside of the general hierarchy in the fairy world. They're kind of their own thing. And
typical cats.
Yeah. He is a king of this particular court of cats in San Francisco, the Court of Dreaming Cats. So when everybody got their memory warped into this parallel world thing, the person that did it doesn't like shapeshifters. And so they basically got rid of the cats or any other shapeshifters by just shoving them into places where they wouldn't be seen and then making everybody else remember history that didn't happen. So pretty much what happened with Tybalt's court, his people, they got locked into their court, which kind of exists outside of the regular fairy. I know, y'all know what I'm talking about if you read the books. So anyway, they were trapped there. And so you got to really see, which you don't get to see very often, Tybalt's relationship with his court, with his subjects, with the cats, and what he and a couple of other people had to do to take care of the entire court, because they were trapped. They couldn't go out. Nobody could get food. Couldn't go hunting. Nothing like that. So kind of the things they had to do. So it was kind of a neat look into the Court of Cats that you don't get to see very often. But other than that, it really... We did get to find out about, like I said before, there's a lot of the main cast of characters that is missing out of the previous book. So with at least one of them, you got to see why. She made an appearance. And so you got to see why she was not present, which it does make sense the way it came about. So I think that's why Shannon McGuire wrote this book, was to fill in the gaps that naturally had to happen because of where Toby was at. She couldn't know about these things, other things that were going on. So it kind of fills in those gaps when you're sitting there going, well, where was May? Where was May? She's in every single book. Like, all over where was she at? Well, this tells you where she was at. It just still didn't make it good. Because again, instead of being active and like really going out there, he mopes around so much because the world isn't the way it should be. And how's he going to take care of his people? And how's he going to make Toby remember so that she can fix things? And he just mopes. He doesn't like, I don't know. And once again, like I think I said in the previous book, the connections that it's just so convenient how some things happen. And I thought maybe we might be free of the ever-loving recap that goes on all the time, because it's this Tybalt's point of view, you know, and he never has a point of view in any of the books, so there's really no recap, right? Nope, there's plenty of that too. Not near as much as normal, at least, but there is some that is still very conveniently placed in info dumpy. But anyway, I gave it a 3 again, because it was from Tybalt's point of view. But it just still, and really at that, only because a lot of the time featured the Court of Cats, and there were 2 other characters that got a lot of screen time that you don't normally, or a lot of page time that you don't normally get to hear from very often. So that was kind of good. But otherwise, it really was just a rehash of the previous book. And even at that, she has a tendency, you know, and I think it's just because all of the other books, and this is like 17 or 18, all of the other books are first person from Toby Day's point of view. And Toby has a very particular character voice. Shannon McGuire's gotten into the problem of when she starts writing other people, she'll write them, but their voice and their way of speaking, their tones, it's starting to bleed into Toby. So Tybalt is a very different character than Toby is, but yet there were times that he would be in a situation, he'd be talking to somebody else, and he would say something, and it's like, that should have come out of Toby's mouth, not his. And then there's a couple of other characters that are starting to just be like mini Tobys. And it's just, I think maybe after, she doesn't have a really good grasp of the personalities of her characters anymore, is what I'm thinking. But anyway, like I said, I think this is number 18. or 17, I don't know, but I'm really hoping this series wraps up pretty darn soon because the last, I think, 3 books have been 3 stars for me, and I'm really losing steam with this series. So I'm hoping that she's going to wrap it up within a book or 2 because I don't know, I'm about done with them. But you can't not finish when you're 18 books in.
Say, you've already committed this much time.
Yeah.
You have to finish.
So
the
I'm
series.
like, if she can wrap it up and say like 2, maybe 3 more books, I can stick with it. But she carries on much longer after that, and I just don't know. Anyway, that's it for me. I'm done. Talked way longer than I should have.
Oh my.
On some of those. I spent way too much time on the meh book of pumpkin spice.
Hey, it happens.
Yep.
But alrighty. Well, that's all. That's it. Yeah. Those are our November wrap-ups. Like we had kind of prefaced. They weren't great. We had slow months, but it's okay. I don't think December's gonna be much better for me, truthfully. It's very busy.
Yes, it is. I don't think it's going to be much better for me either. Well, and I don't know about you, but I just don't really have a desire to read right now.
I don't either.
Just, not really thinking like, oh, I just got to get this done so I can go read a book. I'm really just not even...
No, I think I'm in a reading slump.
Yeah.
I think I've hit it. I don't know, maybe if I pick up another Nick Cutter, then that'll change it. I don't know. But honestly, I don't even want to do that. I'm at the point where all I just want to do is just lay in bed and turn on Gilmore Girls and just not do anything. Like, that's what I want to do for fun right now.
So it sounds like we're also on the same page because we just started in our household, which I think is really funny because my household is all boys other than me, doing another rewatch of Gilmore Girls.
Nice.
So
all together.
Yeah, pretty much. Because my 18-year-old thinks Kirk is hilarious. So any episode that has Kirk in it is great. But anyway, I think that's why the comparison between the Pumpkin Spice Cafe and the Gilmore Girls is so apparently not there. Because we're currently rewatching.
Yeah, well, any true fan of Gilmore Girls will be able to see that that's not there. But
yeah.
Anyway, that's my comfort show. One of my comfort shows, for sure. It's what I grew up, like my mom and I would watch that show all of the time because we were practically Lorelai and Rory, so.
I'm almost getting to the point though where, the point in the series where I can't watch for a while because it's when Rory's in college and she buys into the whole Gilmore money.
Oh.
And like cuts her mom out, and that whole period in there just pisses me off. So
yeah, well, Rory's not that great of a character, so or a person. I mean, she
that's true. This rewatch, I'm not liking her very much. This is not a Gilmore Girls recap.
No, it's not. But we should start one of those.
Well, maybe we should. The Morbid podcast has a spin-off where they watch Buffy and talk about it. So
maybe we should do Gilmore Girls.
Maybe we should do Gilmore Girls.
Gosh, the guy who plays Luke, Scott, he has he has a podcast where he goes through and talks about each episode and brings on other actors and stuff from the show to talk about like behind the scenes stuff. And
I didn't know that.
I don't remember what it's called. I'll have to look it up and let you know.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
That might be interesting. Anyway. This is not a Gilmore Girls video.
No, it should be, but it's not.
Yep.
Anyway, well, now that our lights died and told us to go.
Yep.
Yeah. Hopefully you enjoyed watching our November reading wrap-ups. If you did, please be sure to give the video a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, going down below the video, hit that red subscribe button. Join the Everyday Adventurer family. Get to see our lovely faces every Sunday. So I don't know what more motivation you need to hit the subscribe button.
I don't know, but you got a join option now too.
Yeah.
Which, hey.
If you join in the channel memberships, it just made me think Fat App work.
Hey, who wants to play?
Anyway, if you join in on the channel memberships, you get access to videos a whole day early. You also get access to members only videos and also live streams. So, don't want to miss out on any of the extra content. Go and join the memberships.
Join in.
Especially if you are part of the watching on the cookie competition that I have going on right now. If you are a member, you get the full unedited cut of the cookie competition.
Oh, they were talking about doing that. That you ought to do that. So
Yep.
yeah.
And I sure did. And I think that is funny. So
Okay, well there's an incentive because, as my part of this is, be sure and go check out the rest of the content on Amy's channel because it's not all about books. As she just mentioned, there is currently a competition for the best Christmas cookie in the nation, where she's taking the #1 Christmas cookie from every state and they're doing a cookie battle. So she bakes them and has a panel of judges who taste and decide, and she makes up a whole bracket and everything. The Northwest and the Southwest have been covered, and we're moving on to the Midwest next.
Midwest will be out. Well, we'll probably already be out when this video is gone.
Yeah, probably so. But it's very funny. I've only seen part 1 so far, but it is very funny. And during that time, they kept egging her on about not editing any of it and putting it on. And so she decided to put it on the members only.
Yeah, so definitely go check it out, especially if you watch part 1 and you were like, oh, I'd like to know what was all happening behind the scenes, and you really enjoy. Yeah. Go join the membership so you can find out, because...
Yeah, I know this group of kids. I'm sure it was wild.
I cut out a lot, guys. So, yeah.
So there's that. She also has shopping hauls. She has home decor. She did a whole closet renovation, which I still haven't seen in person yet, because I'm a terrible, terrible sister. And anyway, all of that good stuff. As well as all of our book content. And if that's not enough, then you can also go check out her blog, where she has, sometimes it is just extensions of the videos, but also articles on like Netflix shows, Watch It Wednesday, or food restaurant reviews, which is Foodie Fridays. There are recipes. I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff over there too. So you can go and check all of that out.
Yes, please do. Anyway, well, I think that's it.
That's it.
We said our spiels.
And
we
then
talked
some.
book, yep.
She's gonna have to edit way more. I never intend to go on like this for her. I try and make her job easier, but oh well.
It's okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'm used to it by now.
I know.
But anyway, hope you enjoyed watching. And I'm Amy.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are
The Everyday Epic.
See y'all in the next one.
Bye.